Dan, I want to start with you on the Capitals news. And instead of sort of getting your takes, because everybody's read the feedback on the Trotz and MacLellan hires, what do you expect to be, if you had to say one or two things next year that will be different under this new management for the Capitals? What would they be?
I'm going to take an optimistic approach here. I'm going to say I think that this is going to become a much better possession hockey team, which has been one of their big issues. I think, obviously, they were great on the power play under Adam Oates. He revitalized the power play. That pushed them on the verge of a playoff spot for much of the year, and it pushed Ovechkin to 50 goals again. But that's not the way you win, certainly not in the playoffs, and you can't sustain it in the regular season either. And so Trotz's teams have been good at the possession game. They have been good at 5-on-5, and he made it pretty clear at his press conference that all the newfangled stats that people love, the Corsi, the Fenwick, these stats that show how much you have the puck, how much you have in the opponent's zone, he cares about those things. And so I think the fact that his teams have been good at that, the fact that he's already stressing that, I think the Caps are going to be a better 5-on-5 possession hockey team. And it's kind of like in the weeds a little bit, but I think that bodes well for their chances.
Well, they certainly were not very good at even strength this year, so that would certainly bode well for them. Mike, what do you expect out of this new regime next year?
Two things. One, I expect Ted Leonsis not to blog about individuals on his site. The Brian MacLellan made that clear to him, apparently, and he had it on his blog, in which, it doesn't show a unified front if your owner is actually out there picking apart your players, even in general terms. So I think there's going to be less that. That's kind of ancillary. On the ice, I expect Alex Ovechkin to finally become a better defensive player. And I think that his coach is going to demand this. More importantly, I think his teammates and the organization is going to demand this. And he doesn't want to be left alone as this $9 million a year prima donna that scores 50 goals a game. I think he gets too much blame anyway. For a guy that's not on the ice, like LeBron has the ball or a quarterback has the football.
Big skin.
But I don't believe that Alex Ovechkin wants to end his legacy here as a guy thought of as not playing defense.
Well, that'd be interesting. All right, LeVar, give me what you expect out of the new regime next year for the Caps.
I had an opportunity to actually interview Coach Trotz once he was announced, and the one thing that I asked him about that is very noticeable about this Capitals team is they appear to be, in a soft way of putting it, too finesse with what they do. Some would kind of decode that as soft. I think what Trotz will bring, and he spoke about this at length, is the ability to be more physical. I think he used the term sawing off arms and different things like that. This team needs to be more physical if they're going to be able to take that next step and being able to be competitive. Obviously, the possession of the puck and being able to play at full strength is going to be a challenge. But I think sometimes it just really comes down to the bare minimum of, are you going to impose your will on another man's will, and can you make them give in to what it is that you're bringing out there on that ice? And I think that Trotz will identify the guys. So this could be an identification year, so to speak, for this new group. But he's going to identify his type of guys, and then a lot of it is going to have to do with skating and toughness.
You mentioned identity. Go ahead, Dan.
No, I was going to say, none of us mentioned MacLellan, and I think that's not a coincidence, because I think none of us really know what this guy is going to do. He was not, he was not a hot candidate around the league, certainly, and he was a guy that was in the background for most of his time here. So, I mean, it's hard to say what he's going to do. I think initially people were worried, is this guy like a George McPhee disciple who wants to carry on? I think that he's probably made it clear that that's not what he wants to do, but I don't think any of us really knows what he wants to do.
I just, to Laura's point, this team has been so frustrating in the playoffs, and they're just this regular season tease that, like, anybody that goes to a Verizon Center game realizes it's one of the great entertainment commodities in this town right now, whether it's a concert or whatever. You get excited, you go, but you want them to see him take that next step. To LeVar's point, they got to be tougher. They just have to be tougher.